A pleasant good evening to you all. I'm Shane Harris. And sorry for the long technical delay. We're starting season 2 off here on a Saturday night. So if you're watching this live at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, don't be afraid because this is a normal episode of Shane Harris Tonight. And we do begin with something a little bit different. We ended the year in Europe, and we're going to stay put in Europe for the next episode, which is this one. By the power of Egyxos! Yes, we are kicking it off in Italy this year. Last time we ended in France, and I promised you we're going to talk about this series, Egyxos, for a short bit. Now, there isn't that much information out there on the English-speaking side of the world when it comes to this show, but there's a lot when it comes to people who live overseas. Primarily viewers who live in Italy, Spain, and the Middle East and Russia. They love this show so much. So how so? Well, you gotta start off with the least technical things, and that is the music. It actually fits pretty well. Plus, its theme song sort of reminds me of the Moon Over the Castle theme that Gran Turismo is famous for, aka T-Square's Night Song. It's sort of similar to that almost. Pretty epic in terms of drama and build. But another technical aspect that makes this popular is how good the original Italian comics were that were developed in the early 2010s that led to this cartoon in 2014-15. The animation is pretty good. Character design, phenomenal. The story, well, I'm gonna have to be very blunt with it because it is storyline driven from start to finish. Now you gotta ask me, who do you think out of this group photo is the least qualified to be a proper Egyptian pharaoh? Well, if you said this kid here, correct. Sean Platzker, who is part of the $1 Million Quartet down here in the United States, took a nice trip to Italy to play this character named Leo Walker. A 12-year-old who sounds really squealy in voice, unfortunately. And he is basically your average high school / late middle school student. He loves basketball, and he's a great character to hang out with. But apparently he possesses something that is a one-of-one and very, very priceless. A bracelet that basically turns him into the last pharaoh on Earth. And it's just a crazy mess thereafter, to the point where he has to enter a different dimension, which is a heavily altered version of ancient Egypt. But even more insane. So, yes. Question is, how come this show never was talked about stateside? Because it never aired here, not even in Canada. Oh. Yes, had to use copier paper because this series never really came to the US to the point where the cable companies and streamers didn't have any posters for it, so I had to utilize IMDb to find the posters. So, not much to say about the cast. Platzker is Leo, and there's another person that Colin Ryan from the Final Fantasy franchise does play. You gotta guess it for yourself, because I was busy handling other stuff. But the series obviously had a tight budget, so it couldn't really come here. And on top of that, there is a good thing coming out of this, and that is the owners of the show, De Agostini, out of Italy. They managed to put up all 26 episodes, both in Italiano and also in English. So, enjoy either one. I would probably prefer the Italian version better because the English dub is horrific at best. Like, we're talking late 90s anime horrific, folks. But, overall, it is an okay show. I'll give it a C+ for overall quality. Now, for the big story you've all been waiting for, because this isn't your average Saturday night, I've decided to make a bit of changes to my future plans here in 2025. I'm going to bust out a few different changes to this year's lineup. Now, why you see my hand covering the lens is, well, because I got these papers. One focuses on the critical rating stats for all 24 of the Shane Harris Tonight TV programs that I'm covering. The other is this, but that'll get a separate video. The other is this. The Shane Harris Tonight Mayhem Tournament, where you, the fans at home who watch my channel, gets to decide which one of these cartoons will end up becoming the definitive cartoon of Shane Harris Tonight. Now, I made a major change. Johnny Test will be in the tournament. Thus, Mission Force 1 will merge with Miles from Tomorrowland to match up with the IMDb regulations. And also, we got a couple of shows that we will get to later on, including Packages from Planet X, which is literally next week, then Super Noobs, Oban Star Racers, Kick Butowski, Garage Band, Camp Lake Bottom, Little Einsteins, Fangbone, Atomic Betty, Monster Buster Club, Dude That's My Ghost, and Street Football. Yeah, we're going to get a couple of French shows, a few more Canadians, and probably like 2 more American projects in there. And yes, Street Football is a Zodiac series, and you can't be a cartoon fan without watching at least one of their goods. But hey, that one's probably the least known compared to Totally Spies. Excuse me. Anyway, this little tournament begins, of course, in the month of May. And you may be wondering how come my DVD area is a bit, pushed back. Well, that is because for Christmas, I'd up the ante. Because today, we got a girl who's gonna rock my world on my TV set. In fact, twice. So I get to watch Atomic Betty before we get to her later in the spring, in late April. Also, due to scalpers, I can only get one Code Lyoko DVD, which is part of Season 2, unfortunately. And I managed to track down Jimmy Two Shoes, which is pretty nice. I will test those discs out so I can actually see if they actually work and whatnot. But I will be watching Atomic Betty again because I'm going to have to refresh my brain a little bit so we can get to that later on in the spring months. And, of course, I'm going down by what my poem is saying. There we go. There we go. So, we got Egyxos, Patches Planet X, Super Noobs, Oban. Yeah, so Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go. Shit. That means street football is not happening. Well, actually, it is happening, but I'm only using it as a crutch due to Shane Harris regulations. So it was a last-second effort, because I'm afraid that show will win the tournament altogether, so yeah. So, looks like I'm gonna have to scratch out Super Monkey Team Hyperforce Go in favor of Street Football, because I'm afraid Street Football is a lot more in line with Shane Harris tonight. So, you don't have to complain about my poem. So, yeah, I'm going by what my thing says. So, yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the rest of the New Year's festivities, and also I will see you next week for Packages from Planet X, as we get to talk about another Canadian series. But for now, the next 39 seconds will go out to the people of New Orleans and to one former president, Jimmy Carter. But for now, I'm Shane Harris, signing off, and we bid you a good night.